Hey guys, this is Mikro. I wanted to talk about a new game that's going to be coming out this up and coming Wednesday called Baldur's Gate 3. This is a game made by the same game studio that published Divinity Original Sin 2, Divinity, Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2. If you have played those series, you would know the quality of the games that come out from this studio. They're always high quality. They're kind of single player, uh, rogue like RPG kind of oriented games that are definitely fun to play. They remind me inherently at their core of Dungeons and Dragons and they're that sort of gameplay. Baldur's Gate 3 basically parallels Dungeons and Dragons, is directly derived from the 5 and 5e handbook and has a lot of features that reminisce from that, but also take some inspiration to change some of the stuff from that original game sequence. So this is a really, really promising game that's going to be coming out in 3 days, and I wanted to talk about, or I guess 4 days, and I wanted to talk about the class that I'm looking to play at the start, as well as what that class can kind of take advantage of. This is a class that's not available in the beta, so I can't provide exact footage of it, but it is the Tempest domain Cleric. Clerics, if you have played D&D, are just generally really strong because they have access to heavier armors and can still do really decent kind of spell damage. This Tempest domain Cleric's build is designed to counter melee combatants by utilizing Polearm's Master along with passives inherent to the Tempest domain to force melee enemies to keep their distance from you on the battlefield by pushing them away from your friendly allies, and just overall acts like a giant space control element slash buffer so that people can't sneak up onto your squishy backline units. The Tempest domain Cleric, inherently at level 1, you get this passive called Wrath of the Storm. It basically makes it so that whenever you take damage, you do a strong attack. Early game, this is very strong. Later game, this falls off. The important part here is it deals lightning or thunder damage, which can be combined with later attributes to force those targets to be pushed away. And by pushing those targets away, there are mechanics that we'll get into later that can kind of take care of that. At level 2, you get Channel Divinity, so you can do maximum damage from one of these attacks, so you can do a flat 16 damage. At level 6, you get this Thundering Strike, which allows you to push your objects away, and this is when the class finally starts coming to life. And then at level 8, whenever you do a weapon attack, you can infuse Divine Energy into it, causing your attacks to do an extra 1d8 thunder damage to the target. So that is just like an extra damage source that you can kind of take advantage of. So this class is just inherently going to be very tanky because you're in heavy armor. You have martial weapon proficiency as well, and with that, I think it makes sense to combine this class with the Polearms Master feat. If you are familiar with that feat, it is very, very popular. You should be able to get a feat at level 4 with this up and coming game, at level 8, and at level 12, unless they add in Variant Human, which isn't available at the start, and then you can get some feats early on in the game as well. So Polearms Master basically makes it so if someone walks into range of you, you get opportunity attack, as well as you can do an extra attack with the backhand of your weapon, if as long as you have either a glaive, a halberd, a quarterstaff, or a spear, and then you are basically have to run a glaive, halberd, a quarterstaff, or spear. I guess you could run a pike too and take advantage of some of these things. But the main advantage that you have here is you gain access to opportunity attacks. Those opportunity attacks can be used to deal damage, which can be confused into thunder damage and push enemies away. The thing that really sticks out to me is the spear here. All these other weapons require two-handed. Spear is a versatile weapon, which allows it to be used with one hand or two hands. So you could use spear with one hand and use a shield, which allows you to later on at level 8, where this class really starts to shine, you can take up Warcaster, and then you could use some spells that you were not normally able to use as a reaction instead of using your spear for damage, and then you can kind of nuke people with the spells that you have as a reaction rather than just having to rely on your melee weapon itself. You can kind of do a combination of the melee weapon and the spear, I figure, but this is just like a really, really powerful way to take advantage of all the Tempest domain Cleric's bonuses. We don't actually have access to all the spells list that the Tempest Domain's Cleric is going to have, but I could pull up the D&D 5e ones that are relatively promising that you get from leveling that I imagine will either be in the game when the launch comes out or a derived version of them will be in the game. So one of these is Thunder Wave, which is not something I could use a reaction because it is not a single target damage, but this causes a target to take a large amount of damage. Well, not really large, but they take 2d8 thunder damage, and they get pushed 10 feet away from you. So this is another one of those kind of space controlling elements. The main idea here is people walk into range, you proc your polearms master. You could use that polearms master to use a from warcaster at level 8 to cause yourself to be able to use a single target attack towards that person. So that will make those mobs just kind of in general have a very hard time closing the distance versus you. And then with using the Tempest domain passives that you have, you could also use your melee attacks, and as long as you're using thunder damage, then you can push the targets back out of range. They have to walk back in your range. You proc the polearms master, rinse, repeat. The thing is like if you hit the target, they're basically not going to be able to do that much to you, and you can push the target away on your turn too if you hit them. So overall, this is a class that focuses on controlling that melee combatant battlefield, and Thunderwave definitely helps with that, especially because it's a AoE attack rather than a single target attack. So if too many people get past that original breach of defense that you have with Polearm Master, then you can use Thunderwave to kind of push them back and reset that opportunity to prevent them from closing the distance again and getting pushed back. Call Lightning is a very, very strong spell in terms of like it creates a large cloud that's over you, and then when people are seen in the cloud, they can take 3d10 lightning damage, or on a failed save half as much. This is lightning damage, so you can combine that with your channel divinity to, or not with your channel divinity, but you can combine that with the Tempest domain uh, skills to push the target back away. You could use your channel divinity with this and guarantee 30 damage, which is a pretty significant amount of damage as well. This spell does require concentration, so it does benefit from having that warcaster, because warcaster will give you advantage when you take damage. When you take damage when you have concentration, you can break concentration at the roll for that, and the Warcaster will give you advantage on that, so this kind of combines well with that trait that you can get at level 8, as long as you get Polearms Master early, or you could switch it around and take that trait early, you can take the Polearms Master later. Just know that until you have your Polearms Master, you're not really going to be able to reactionary kind of control the space that you have, and instead you're just going to have to play with the amount of space control that you have on your turn inherently. So this is a way to kind of deal a decent amount of damage to people, and it's a concentration effect that lasts for 10 minutes. There's also Destructive Wave, which basically makes it so that each creature within 30 feet of you has to save a con throw, or they take a bunch of thunder damage, which is another solid AoE-like effect. So Tempest Domain has a lot of access to good AoEs. It's a good tank, as well as it's good at kind of disrupting people from closing the distance versus your allies. Something else that I've considered, but I don't think is better, is Sentinel. Sentinel allows you to when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, the creature's speed becomes 0 for the rest of the turn. So this is more of a defending your allies kind of trait. I think if the AI is strong enough in the hard mode of Divinity Original Sin 2, then we might be worth taking that just to kind of prevent people from taking damage to melee combatants. But I think the other traits of this build kind of make it so that you don't necessarily need this, because when people get in range, as long as you're able to hit your attack, they're going to be pushed away from you. And that just leads to this class just being a really solid frontline tank that prevents people from closing the distance on your more squishy units. Let me know what you guys want to play when this game comes out. I think this build looks really, really fun, and something that I've always wanted to try in a full campaign, but I've never been able to pull off in a full campaign because most of those campaigns disband relatively quickly. And I'll see you guys later.